Welcome to a special series where we interview a host of notable people from the Genius 100 Summit in Los Cabos, Mexico, on the moment that changed everything. Here, you'll learn their secrets to success, gain invaluable insights into what shaped their careers, and key takeaways on what it takes to be a leader in their field.
This is absolutely what we need. This is absolutely the future. We have to get on this.
Talk to people who think so beautifully about big, complex challenges.
G100 Los Cabos, Mexico, a special series on the moment that changed everything.
Has your life been a journey about learning about your dad? Or is it a major part of it, or is it just...
It's really
like, how do you compartmentalize that?
Our adult lives were spent learning about him, archiving just interviews. One of the artists we met first was Freddie Scott, and it's amazing to meet this man. And we're thinking, like, oh, we're going to interview him, and then he passed away, and we really had to like step up and say, these people aren't going to be here. We have to really move with haste, and that was the beginning.
And Freddie Scott to your dad, what was the relationship like?
Songwriter, artist, producer, artist.
Yeah, Freddie Scott was a singer in New York who had a hit called "Hey Girl," and our dad signed him to his record label and had a #1 R&B hit with a song called "Are You Lonely for Me, Baby," which is a song that very few people know. Keith Richards said it was one of the greatest songs. That he said it was the one song he wished he had written. Keith Richards said that about "Are You Lonely for Me, Baby" and Freddie Scott. But like Cassie said, when we were getting started, we didn't know anything. We didn't know anything about, books or documentaries. We were raised in the music business, but we realized in order to get our father recognized, we were going to have to tell his dramatic life story in every medium. And so we thought, all right, let's make a documentary, and let's get a book, and let's make a musical, and a feature film, and that was really kind of the impetus for us to get him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was our kind of...
Was that the goal from the beginning?
Yeah.
Like
it's a pretty cool goal, right?
It's really far away,
And so when did you start this journey?
Well, so I guess, we knew growing up that our dad was this great songwriter who had written famous songs, but we didn't really know very much beyond that. And our mother was really the star of our lives growing up, because she picked up when he died in 1967 and carried Bang Records into the 70s and had enormous hits with Paul Davis and Peabo Bryson and Brick. And so she was really the star. But she would tell us things about our dad. Like, she would say, he would say, "My children will know me through my music." He knew he was going to die young, and so this was like a message that he wanted her to pass on to us. And we knew he was a Zionist that wanted to fight in the Six-Day War. And we had these and she would say, "Your father wasn't a gangster. I never want you to think your father was a gangster." And we were like, "What do you mean he was a gangster?" We didn't know he was a gangster. And he was the original gangster. No, I'm sorry, Dad. He was surrounded by original gangsters. They loved him. They fell in love with him the way everybody fell in love with him. Freddie Scott fell in love with him. All the artists fell in love with him. The mob guys fell in love with him too, so that's another big part of the story. But yeah, our journey of discovery really started when I came out of the Army. I was in the Israeli Army, and when I came back to the States...
Did you join because of your dad was a Zionist?
Yes.
So has a lot of your lives been kind of like, he would have wanted us to do this, or this is something that could complete his journey?
As partially that, but I would say that what it really was when I came back from the Army, and little did we know that his songs were reverting back to us that year by virtue of copyright renewal law that we didn't even know was happening. So all of a sudden, this enormous windfall of responsibility and everything just fell into our laps, and we had to become music publishers. And so that was really the beginning, where Cassie and I said, okay, we're going to create a music publishing company, and we're going to promote the songs. And then the first real revelation of my life in this whole journey was how obscure our dad was. He had been blackballed and whitewashed out of the history books, and blackballed by Ahmet Ertegun and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because of the very political, and the battles that he had at the end of his life. And so that was really the beginning of the whole journey of discovery, was realizing how obscure he was and how it would be left up to us to tell his story. And so, yeah, that's how it went down.
What, for our audience, what were these battles? Cassie?
Well, he was, it's a
Would it
really
be a better question for you.
I'll happily answer this question. The mob were around in the music business. Everybody dealt with the mob. There was nobody in the record business that didn't cross paths with the mob. They were there. They were just a part of the fabric. The relative moral universe is how Joel Sullivan, the author of the book, described it. The mob were just there. And our dad, who was comfortable with those guys, had friends like Carmine Denoya, who's a star of the documentary, nicknamed Wazzle. He's a legendary character. And it's really, the story of Bert Berns has so many angles in it, but one of the main ones is that Jerry Wexler, one of the founders of Atlantic Records, was my godfather. He was the best man at the wedding. He was really responsible for bringing Bert Berns in as the staff producer at Atlantic when they fired Lieber and Stoller. Like, Jerry Wexler was this oversized character in our dad's life. And when they started Bang Records together, which stood for Bert, Amit, Neswi, and Jerry Wexler, they were partners in Bang. And Atlantic Records was struggling to have a hit, but Bang Records was just like one hit after the next, right out of the gate. Hang On Sloopy, #1 with the McCoys. I Want Candy with the Strangeloves. He signs Neil Diamond and releases Solitary Man and Cherry Cherry, and then Van Morrison, Brown Eyed Girl. I mean, our dad couldn't make a mistake. And he was eclipsing Atlantic Records on the charts with his little startup label where he was partners with those guys. And the long story short, Ahmet Ertegun never wanted to sell Atlantic, but Jerry Wexler did want to sell, and he thought that they had made enough money and enough hits that it was time to cash out. And they tried to squeeze our dad out of his label. And when he wouldn't relent, they brought Morris Levy, who was the front end of the mob in the record business at the time, to muscle our father out of Bang Records. And little did they know that our dad's dearest friend, who they shared boats next to each other at the 79th Street Boat Basin, was a guy named Tommy Ebele, a.k.a. Tommy Ryan, who was the acting boss of the Genovese mob.
So, Cassie, what did you...
Yes.
What did people tell you about your dad?
Wow, what did they? I mean, they just loved him. Everybody loved him. He was larger than life. That he seemed like he was 10 feet tall when he walked into a room. That he was soul, just the epitome of soul. That he had a way of talking, and he was very frenetic, always in a hurry, because he knew he was living on borrowed time, and just rang all of the life out of that 7 years that he had.
You had a music career.
I didn't really have a career.
I
was quite a bench warmer.
But you were signed at 16?
Yes,
Come
I
on,
was.
this is pretty serious.
I was signed to Elektra Records. And I think it was a good story at the time. I could sing. I had an interesting way in. But Atlanta, Georgia wasn't really on the map in terms of being a music hub as it is today. And we were really just out of the eye line of the A&R people. And yeah, I sat on the bench for a minute. Then I moved to Nashville and got more involved songwriting and really honing my craft.
And you sing now?
I sing now for fun. I sing now. It's
Is
I
it
don't
a
have
love?
the same
Is it a love?
anxiety. It is a love. I learned how to play ukulele. I was a guitar player for years, and then I just picked up a ukulele as a joke, and I'm now a better uke player, and I just love it. But I just do it for myself. I'm helping Brett's kids.
So there's
to
something
find
to
their-
Steve Martin playing a ukulele? Like there is something there?
There is. It's a real respectable instrument. It just makes everything sound silly.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him live, I don't know, in the last 5 years, 6 years, and that seems to be his passion.
Yeah.
Comedy?
Yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you were telling me a little bit about your dad and that he was loved, and what was he like with your mom?
Well, they really just had a very short relationship. They married in '65, and he was gone in '67. He loved to dance, but he wouldn't dance because he was afraid of his heart, so he'd watch her dance.
Where did they meet?
They met at the PJ Clark Steakhouse.
Are you serious?
Yeah, hamburger joint, popular. That's what she says in the movie. That her sister
On 3rd, I think, was it?
Yeah, it's still there. Yep, yep. She came into the city with her sister, who was recently divorced, and wanted to go and bar hopping and flirt, and she was there, and they just happened to be there, Bert and his buddy, and she wasn't even attracted to him. He had long hair before it was cool to have long hair, but he talked about music, and she was a dancer. She was a twister. You couldn't call my mom a go-go dancer. She would be upset. She thought I was a twister.
The difference between go-go
I
and
have
twist?
no idea.
Okay.
I think it's exactly the same. But she just, she was a twister, and she said she had danced to his songs. Tell Him and Twist and Shout were already hits, but she said it was in the kiss that he turned off the light and he kissed her, and she fell in love. And on the car ride home with her sister, she says, "I'm in love. I'm marrying Bert Berns, and that's that."
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Brett, you went to the Israeli army. How? Why? I can't even. What do you say?
Yeah, it was it started with our mother telling us about our dad loving Israel and wanting to fight for Israel, and that was one of the things that as a child that didn't know my dad personally, it really kind of hooked me. And I did want to have a military experience from an early age growing up in the South. We were just a bunch of rednecks shooting guns, and so when I finished college, I went off to Israel and could barely speak Hebrew, but I knew enough to get through. And they didn't want me let me into a combat unit because I had very low physical profile from surgery on my shoulder. So I just said, I'm going to sit for the next year and a half in jail if you don't let me become a paratrooper. And they finally relented, and I went through the whole course. And
why paratrooping?
Well, because in Israel, the paratrooper.
Is that a word, by the way?
Paratrooping, yes. Yeah. They're the most elite unit. All the chiefs of staff of the Israeli army are paratroopers. You get that red beret. It's an iconic, the red boots and the red beret. Where, when I saw that the first time, I was just like, wow, I really want to be a part of that. Girls walking around with Uzis. The whole thing about Israel was just so exciting, And so that was my.
So this is about meeting chicks, right?
Well,
Entirely?
yeah. I wish I could say that. It was really hard to chat up Israeli girls because my Hebrew wasn't very good, and Israeli women are very tough. So that was not that was the least successful part of my whole enterprise there.
Yeah, but there's something about tight uniforms and big guns, right? That are so attractive.
Yeah, and I was attracted to the biggest gun in the infantry, which is the mag machine gun, and so I was magist betzan chanim. That was again my goal, was to be a machine gunner in the paratroopers, and I accomplished my greatest ambition by the time I was 22 years old. So yeah, I peaked early.
So guys, you're here at Genius 100 in this gorgeous, Los Cabos. What do you hope from today? What do you hope to? Is it people that you want to meet? What is it that you hope to get from Genius 100?
Well, for us, I mean, we love Ambassador Ido Aharoni. If we would do anything to spend time with him and his people. And when I came before the pandemic in 2019, and I met so many extraordinary people here. I always felt like, what am I doing here around all these people who are saving the world and curing blindness and saving children in Afghanistan and Nigeria and women's rights. And I mean, it was just like, and I'm thinking, but anytime we get a chance to share the Bert Berns story with people, we jump at it because that really has become our life's work. We have this musical coming to Broadway. Rob Reiner's making a movie about our dad right now. We've
You guys are going to be pretty popular for the next couple of years, right? Like,
Definitely
talk
working hard.
shows. It's going to be everything, right?
Talk shows, morning shows. Yeah.
No,
But
how
again,
exciting is that? But you're going to have, 3-4 years of this?
yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, and we've been at it already since 2014 when the book Joel Selvin wrote, Here Comes the Night, first. This book led the way, and it was a acclaimed counter history of the entire New York music scene in the 60s, and it was a universally acclaimed book that led the way. Then the musical came next off Broadway. We got that gorgeously tuneful pull quote from the New York Times. Thank you very much. And the musical
Who did
was
the illustration?
this is the Pico Group, our marketing team. They're like one of the great marketing teams companies in New York. So they did
Nice job.
this. And then we were shooting interviews for this documentary, Bang, the Bert Berns story, and this came out and got 100% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is another claim to fame.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like, how does that even happen? But this documentary really is the gift that keeps on giving, because it attracted Rob Reiner to find us, and now we're making a feature film with him, and he's writing and directing and producing.
And when should that come out?
That's going to come out in 2025, because he's making the Spinal Tap sequel for the 40th anniversary release in 2024. So next year is Spinal Tap, and then we'll come out after that. And the movie is tentatively titled Piece of My Heart as well. So it's not the same take as the musical. The musical is a very different animal, but both projects will be called Piece of My Heart.
And when was the moment that changed everything, that you decided that? How long ago? What's the context of it that you decided, hey, we're going to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for my dad?
We really watched every one of his peers get inducted.
And that was the...
That was really
The
it.
impetus?
There was like everyone, the only one that was missing
Right.
was Bert.
The Songwriters Hall of Fame.
The Songwriters Hall of Fame. And, it just became like a thing that we had to write.
And Cassie very cleverly wrote a musical using the songs of Bert Berns to tell a story that had nothing to do with our dad. It was a jukebox musical, but not a bio musical. And I thought, well, that's really a great idea, but wouldn't it be better if it was about our dad? And we didn't know enough about the story then to really be able to do that. But over time, as we started to really dig deep and uncovered all the songs and the story, one day I walked into her office and I said, if you don't write this musical with me, I'm going to do it without you. And she's like hell you will. And that was the
or
beginning.
Is that because of talent, or?
I wouldn't let him do it without me.
Yeah. We are really a great team working together. I couldn't have done this without her, and she might have been able to do it without me, but we are a brilliant team together. Ourselves.
Did you guys fight as kids?
Oh my God! Did
Like
we fight as kids?
nonstop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would never, hit a woman. But we fought.
Yeah, for sure you did.
Yeah, but we were, we were wild animals,
come on,
But because we were being raised by a single mother who was working, 24 hours a day. We kind of had to raise ourselves, and we became we call it the band of the hand. There's 5 of us all together because our mother had twins from a second marriage, and we're to this day best friends, all of us. And it was as a result of the fact that we grew up in a very chaotic environment, and we kind of had to stick together.
Okay, I'm with Cassie and Bert Berns, sister and brother, on the moment that changed everything, part of Genius 100 Visions, Los Cabos, Mexico. Guys, thank you. This was tremendous. Please come back again.
So thank you so much.
To learn more about how you can support G100 initiatives, visit genius100visions.com.